in the grant stuff to cover some of the cost. But to kind of dive right into it, if we go through the grant, because when we first started that project with the new building, just to remind everybody, is that we said we were going to do the recycling portion of that building based on the grants that we received because we did not budget for building a new building. So there was two main grants that we were dealing with this year. One was the recycling grant for a little over 62,000, and then a 23 cap grant for 25,000. So that was kind of the numbers that we were working within on the recycling side. And then of course there's the park side, which is going to be the warming house and the storage area. So right now, based on what we've approved and moved forward on, when we're done paying, we're going to be short two functions. One is to install the security pre-wire. It's almost $1,400, and to install the boiler. And both of those are shared expenses between parks and recycling. So on the parks or on the recycling side, let me back up a little bit. So what we did was after we paid for the permits, the building, the concrete, all those kind of things, what we've talked about here before the board, out of those grants, those two grants would be roughly $112 to the positive left. The two things that we have not done yet is the security pre-wiring and the Kramer boiler system. So those are the two things that are outside of what we can cover with the grant. So on the parks, they're sitting better on what they have available through the parks dedication. So what ends up happening, as I was kind of jotting some stuff down before I came here, is if we were to move forward, I think there's a couple options. One is that if we do want to complete out and allow the parks area to use the warming house and the storage area like we had originally planned, because of the shared expenses, in order to be able to put in the pre-wire and the boiler, the amount that the recycling side would have to cover would be another $7,400. So you're talking about $7,300 that we would have to dip into the recycling capital budget, and that we have $20,000 earmarked and they're set aside for that. Second option would be to do the pre-wire in the reuse area by using up to $1,300 in the recycling capital. And then the parks area would have to cover their completion. The problem with this is that it does not get the boiler installed, so we'd have to look for another alternate heat source in the warming house. So this is if the board is concerned about spending the $7,300 out of recycling cap. The second option is to do the pre-wiring for the $1,300, because that's got to be in before we can insulate to use the warming house. And then forego the boiler for now, because that's the next bigger cost. Forego the boiler, but then we'd have to come up with an alternate heat source for the warming house if we're going to use the new warming house this year. Option three would be to do what we talked at the last meeting, which would be to stop the work where we are right now and wait until next year. Problem is then we'd have to resort back to using the old warming house. And there's obviously a lot of issues of that. We've already severed the gas line there. I think it would have to be inspected to make sure that it's actually going to be a safe building for people to be able to use. So to me, those are the kind of the three options that the board is going to have to decide on tonight on moving forward. But I think we're close. The couple things that that we didn't plan on was the pre-wire. We didn't have any bids on that going into this first of all. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at.
So the pre-wire, does the whole building have to be pre-wired?
You wouldn't have to, but if you don't, it's kind of where they're bringing the wires in is going to be behind the insulated wall of the storage unit, yep. The storage area. So once that gets closed off, now you're talking about pulling all new wires into another location in the reuse area.
So the total bill on the pre-wire was at $2,100 for the whole building?
$2,100, yep. Yeah, and then after the split,
So Parks has 7, recycle has 14.
correct.
Pretty fast.
Yep.
Okay. And then the boilers, how much?
The boiler was, on the reuse part was 6,115. And the portion that would go to parks would be 3,080.
Wasn't there already a motion made to pay for the boiler?
Yes,
There was.
that was on October 14th.
Or issue is not an issue to buy the boiler, it's issue for recycle to come up with 16 and 15.
Correct. Mhm.
Okay. And recycle has 20,000 in capital?
Yes.
Thoughts, anyone?
So on the splits for every total invoice, is it 1/3, 2/3, or are some then prorated based on, I know there's some more work happening on parks, so is it? So when you just said there was,
Yeah, so-
7 and 1,400 on the one, is it carry that way on the boiler, I guess, if it was already approved? What funds, when that approval was made, was it gonna come out of?
Still the 1/3, 2/3.
Everything's always been 66,
But-
33, right? 66%, 33%.
65.5, 33.5.
So the motion made to purchase it,
Except
Oh.
for Walters, which we had to do the interior walls for the reuse, so there was more work entailed for the parks portion of it, so Walters did do a supplementary. So that's how I was able to split some of these out differently. Yep, and the overhead doors, Parks has more doors than the reuse center is going to have. They're paying for their doors, Parks is paying for theirs.
so what is the remaining question on the boiler, Bob?
Well, the remaining question is recycle needs 7,200 bucks?
Yeah, it would, yeah, exactly. It would take it down to like 12,008.
You would have to go to
In capital.
recycle, but capital to pay for that.
And they have 20,000 right now.
Yeah, parks is not an issue at all. Parks money is not an issue at all. And I would really like to see that building open. In about 3 weeks.
Like I said, I think the alternative is the pre-wiring is kind of if we're gonna put security back there, which I think is really important for, if we're gonna open that warming house, I think we have to have the security back there. So there you're looking at, about $1,300 coming out of recycle capital in order to be able to cover that extra cost. If there's an issue with spending out of the recycle capital for the boiler, because that's $6,100, to me, we'd have to look into an alternate heat source for the warming house for this winter. There's all sorts of options for that, but that would be a cheaper option.
So getting that right, so basically we need 6,100 for the boiler. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
1,400.
And you need to have 1,400 for security wiring, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
So basically you need $7,500, what you're saying. They have $20,000 in the bank, or $20,000 on the books. Where are we
Firstly,
at?
that building has to be
We had-
secured.
We're in November,
Mhm.
we're at December to carry.
I think so.
That has to be.
I'll make a motion, we spend $7,500 out of capital,
Okay,
recycling capital to cover the boiler and the wiring.
Motion's been made to take 7,500 from recycle capital to finish the boiler and the pre-wiring.
Where are you gonna get the security money?
It was in that total.
It was in that total?
It's in the total. Yeah, it's 2,100 for the wiring.
Okay.
Okay,
So that should leave them 12,500 in the capital. If I figure my numbers right.
can I have a second? Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any more discussion?
So it doesn't screw.
Just to come back to how we get here and to streamline moving forward, because we ask it every time. You're a great advocate. Do we have the money? We always had the money, just when these quotes come through, just to have this stuff ahead of time. So to ask what we have after the fact, we've lost quite a bit of
I
time.
know we have the money. I'm looking at it right.
I know that, but I'm saying when
And that's-
we've already approved the boiler to your date back in October. You know, and the question, it was approved, but hey, where is it being approved from? This much from
That's
this, this much from this. Here's the budget remaining after. Move forward and go, instead of up here doing longhand math all the time. So,
A lot of times it's better for me to write it out.
no, I'm not, no.
Trust me, longhand.
I know I get what you're saying to there, but it's just having that documentation ahead of time, so to this point, we don't lose time on a project. So,
Okay, any more discussion? Pam, it's nothing? Okay, all in favor of said motion, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
So do we need to get approval in from the board for the individual expenses? Okay, because we've got the pre-wire for $2,100.
No, they just approved that.
Okay, so that'll include, okay. I was gonna say, because the installation will be another motion then, because we haven't done that. Okay, is that? Okay, that's not broke out in the agenda, so we'll have to cover that in this agenda. So the installation, there was 3 bids that were provided in the original packet. One was from Brian's Insulation. So the first one, let's start with the first one. First one was St. Croix Insulation. They were the highest bid at $6,670.
It's in here, they're just in a different order.
different, oh,
So
okay.
they're in a different
They're
order.
in your
There's
packet.
Brian's, just, okay.
We have Brian's first on the
Yep.
packet.
Oh, I got it. Okay. So Brian's was our cheaper one. They're also in Isani, so they're pretty close by. They seem to be the most flexible in talking to them as far as scheduling. And right now, they're currently, we're currently on their schedule for December 6th. If the board, passes this. So they were at $4,438. The next higher bid was Gunner Insulation. I think they're in Ham Lake. They were at, $5,286. And again, this is just for the parks area. This is the 2 rooms for parks, nothing in recycling. And then the highest bid that we had was from St. Croix Insulation at $6,670. So in order to finish out the warming house and the park storage area, we gotta have the insulation in there. Unless you guys have questions, I'm gonna make a motion that we approve the use of Brian's Insulation for the amount of $4,438.
Okay, motion's been made to have Brian's Insulation do the installation in the warming house. Can I have a second?
This would be all out of parks.
All park.
All
Yep.
parks.
Moving forward with
I'll second it.
installation on the 6th.
Earl seconded.
Moved and second. Any more discussion? All right, all in favor of having Brian's Insulation, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Warmer in there.
Yeah,
Don,
and
does the
the,
wiring need to be done before the installation?
yes. Yep, now that, because the wiring was approved as part of that 7,500, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Can he get in before?
Before December 6th?
Brian's is flexible. So when I talk to Brian, I gotta call Andrew. And if he can get in before the 6th, great. If it's gonna be after that, then I'll just have to slip Brian's back a little bit. And they were okay with that. Yeah. The last one that I should be asking money for on this project for 2023 will be the wall sheeting. And that's the wood walls, the bottom 8 feet of the warming house and the park storage area. I'm suggesting, there's not a bid in here. I didn't get a bid. What I did was I went out and got pricing from, Menards and Home Depot. Menards was the cheapest, but going with a 3/4 inch, wall sheeting, it would come to about $1,800. There might be a few incidental expenses. So what I would do is, I would recommend that we, approve not to exceed $2,000. That would be for the wall sheeting, the screws to hang it, the primer and the paint to make them a nice bright white so that those rooms are illuminated.
You figure our maintenance people are doing that?
I figure you and I will probably be doing that.
Okay, so you're just getting approval on the 18, up to 2,000 for the plywood.
Correct. It's just materials, no labor.
Okay.
Yep. So I'll make a motion that we approve the wall sheeting expenses not to exceed $2,000. And that again will come completely out of parks.
Second.
Okay, any more discussion? All in favor of said motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. This has been a very interesting year on that building. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks for that, John.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 6, fire department.
Down to the well.
Oh,
Where's the well? Oh, yeah, you want to talk about the well? Sorry about that. Walk slow.
Oh, okay. So just a real quick update. At the last meeting, we talked about the well out there. That well, the only purpose is that it serves is to flood the rink and the irrigation system of the four seasons back there. So we met with a contractor back there, kind of went through different options. Just to have them dig a hole and tell us what was wrong was going to run $2,900. Repairs would be above that. We looked at running a new line from the well to the heated portion of the parks building, and then put the pressure tanks in there so that we don't have them underground any longer. The total cost of doing that was going to run us $7,000. So in some discussions between Public Works and myself, we decided to dig a hole and see what was wrong with it ourselves. We dug down there, we seen how the layout was, and it turns out that the pipe that runs from the well to the silver building has a T in it, and the T goes over to the 2 pressure tanks. And it was very clear once we got down there that the pressure tanks is what had failed. So what we did was we cut the pipe that was going from the T to the pressure tanks. We cut that out and put a plug in it. And then closed it up. This afternoon we tested it, and the well is working just fine at this point. So for $30 some for parts and tools and a couple hours of Public Works time, I think we have a fix for this winter. We'll be able to flood the rinks and keep that going. The intent will be in 2024 budget. That's when we'll talk about permanent repairs. The problem that I had with having them fix this for $7,000 is it didn't include the irrigation system. So we'd have had to have them come back again in the spring and pay them again to tie into the irrigation system. So you'd have been looking at probably at least double the $7,000. So I think if by averting that this year and doing it all as one project in the spring, I think it'll save us a lot more money and we'll get a better product because we're not fighting the cold weather. So that's what we ended up doing. So I think we've averted it for right now. And
That one we're not doing
yep,
now?
that is the one that we do not have to do right now.
Good, thanks for doing that.
Yep. Yeah, thanks Public Works for doing that. It was a lot of hand shoveling.
Yeah, but I watched them watch you.
Oh no, that we took turns.
You sure?
Yeah, you just seen it when it was my turn. That's all.
Okay.
It was good timing.
All right. All right. Good for now. Now we'll talk to fire department.
I'm gonna recuse myself.
Okay.
Even topic.
Thank you, board. Thank you, staff. Hopefully everybody got the opportunity to see the new Rescue 5. Sitting out front. Excuse me. So the initial quote that we got from DTM and Kelly was $83,240. Final cost was $74,287. So that came $8,953 under the initial quote. So thanks to Assistant Chief Stockinger and his team for doing their due diligence, working hard on this. We have a great new first line vehicle that we use 80% of the time. So, and in most cases, 100% of the time. So, and it's red. So it's always a good thing, right? So,
Sure you wouldn't want to make it yellow.
you know, we were thinking about that. No.
Very nice.
But
very
thanks
nice.
for the support on
Beautiful.
that board. It's a beautiful rig, and it's going to serve the community well. So, any questions?
No, great job, fire department, for pulling that together and getting it done.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful rig.
Yeah, thank you. We're excited, and the goal is to put it in service tomorrow night. So, so you'll see great lighting package. You'll probably see it from your homes. So it's not Christmas. It'll be Rescue 5. So. With that, I know there was some questions on a burn that happened on November 15th. I reached out to the DNR. Unfortunately, what they do for the prescribed burns is they give the contracts, or not the contracts, but the permits early in the spring. And it's at the vendor's discretion when they want to burn. So what I asked the DNR to do is give us a schedule of anything that's going to be in or around our area, so we're aware of it beforehand. So I will sit down with Lisa Mueller and her team early spring to get those, and then I will share that with the staff. So at the very least, we're aware of the burns that may be coming in our area. Again, unfortunately, they do call dispatch. We get that page about a half hour before they start burning, and we really don't have a chance to react. So.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the only reason I sent you the email is, you know, some people were freaking out.
Mhm.
I wasn't here when they had the fire. But a lot of people who live in Linwood were here, and they were just freaked out about that fire.
Yes, yes. And it was, the stars kind of aligned that day because we had two burns. One was, in Lino. It was at Boatworks, actually in Forest Lake or Columbus, wherever that is. They had 80 acres that they were burning, as well as Cordy Mickelson had 80 acres. So with all the smoke in the area, I can definitely feel their sensitivity. So we will try to get that out early as we can. And one of the things is finding out what the vendors are, to talk to them, to let them give us the heads up when they're going to burn. There's no guarantees though, but we'll do our due diligence on our side, on the fire department side, to see if we can get that in front of the staff so they can let everybody know.
Thank you.
Thank you. The other one, with the background, we can scratch that. We're not going to have time to even address that one. But for the town board approval tonight, we're looking for the use of the station for the Linwood Fire Association this Saturday, December 2nd, from 8:30 to 11, to use engine 1, the FWD, and the station for breakfast with Santa.
Make a motion to allow the fire relief to use the fire station December 2nd from 8 to 11 and engine 1.
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you, board.
Have you checked with Santa Claus? Is he okay with engine 1?
I think Santa is eating a lot of cookies, getting ready for it.
Good.
So I think we're ready.
God bless him.
I hope everybody got the memorandum. And at this time, I'd like to turn the floor over to Assistant Chief Stockinger.
Thank you, Chief. So I'm gonna, everyone got the memorandum in their packet. I'm actually gonna start at the bottom of it. Then we'll go back to the top, but back in August, we did request the cost analysis on our pension for the purpose of seeing if the pension funding can support a benefit level increase. That information is also in the packet. I trust that you've reviewed that. According to that review, the current funding levels can support an increase to $3,600 with no increase or no projected cost in the township for 2024. So basically the gist of this is we're looking for board approval to move that pension level to 3,600. Going a little bit of the background, back in 2014, Linwood did enroll into the statewide volunteer fire retirement plan per state statute. We did enroll at $2,600 per year. 10 years has passed, obviously, since then. We're currently at $3,400 per year of service in our pension. That last increase was in January 1 of 2021, so coming up on 3 years ago. Eligibility for the pension, 5 years service with Linwood Township Fire Department. Minimum age of 50 before you can collect that pension, and then you have to be retired from the fire department for a minimum of 30 days. It's 5 years partial vesting, 20 years fully vested in the program to receive that full $3,400 per year service. Sources of revenue for the pension. There's really three sources of revenue. The primarily being is the state fire aid. State law requires insurance premiums to pay back 2% to the state of Minnesota, which is reallocated out to communities for their firefighter pension plans. So in 2024, the projected revenue from that will be just over $37,000 that will go directly to the state board. I'll correct myself, will come to the township, which then gets passed through to the State Board of Investments and then invested through the State Board of Investments. Second source of income for the pension is return on that investment. Currently our assets for the Linwood pension plan is just under $1 million that is currently being invested. And that's as of 12/31/23, so end of the year numbers. Para does project 20 or 6% return on investment annually. So for 2024, that'd be another $58,000 and some change that will accrue and go into that funding for the pension. The third source of funding is a municipal contribution. There's a potential for a required contribution from the local jurisdiction, meaning Linwood Township. Since we've entered the para and the state volunteer retirement plan, there has not been a required contribution from the community. The community can put in a voluntary contributions. Linwood Township has not, in the 10 years in the program, made a volunteer contribution as well. Just for note, historically, prior to going into the state plan, the township did budget $10,000 annually for the pension, and that was about $7,500 actually went into for investment purposes, and the other 25 was for administrative costs to manage the program, which is one of the reasons why we went away from our own relief association. It was to get away some of those administrative costs. So it brings back to the cost analysis. Again, the cost analysis supports a $3,600 per year pension with no additional cost to the community. And that's what we're here to basically request, is that funding increase. I stand for questions.
What are we at right now?
34.
34 you're at right now?
Yep.
Sorry, I didn't pay attention. 36.
The only hesitation I have is isn't it true? This isn't even hesitation, it's the question. Isn't it true if the fund didn't do well, the Linwood Township would be required to make a payment?
Yes, that would be the required contributions if the state board investment didn't come back with their projected goals of revenue for investment. Yeah, there is the potential chance of that happening.
As far as I know, as far as I remember anyway, it only happened once, and we paid about $14,000. But that was before.
It was before going into the statewide plan. Yeah, and I don't know the exact years, but that was somewhere around 2007, 2008.
More in there.
And that pretty significant economic downturn.
Yeah, well.
Again, is it possible? Yes, it's a possibility. So.
And just to build on that too, I think a lot of that was the way we used to do business. It was an outside audit that would do our audit, and they weren't really well rehearsed in fire reliefs or fire associations. So that really kind of backlogged us that year.
Do you know where we stand with like other communities?
There's been some review of that. It's very hard to compare because tax base, property value base all plays into that equation. You know, not everyone's in the statewide pension plan. I think Chief, you've a little bit more on the recent research on that. I'm not, but
Yes, there was a request from another department. Linwood is on the lower scale. Again, it's population, it's the way we invest. A lot of departments, they have their own investments, whether it's through bonding or however they do it. We use the State Board of Investments. It's always served us well. So it's kind of apples and oranges. But we are in the lower spectrum.
How about pay?
The hourly rate,
Yes.
we're kind of in line with other departments, and a lot of departments, in lieu of getting higher hourly, they choose to have their council or board put that towards their retirement instead. So even though it looks lower for a hourly rate, they make it up with the pension plan. And that's, again, recruitment and retention.
But you do get a increase whenever, the fire department gets an increase when anybody gets an increase, right?
There was a couple of years that we did not get an increase.
Well, then
on
nobody
hourly.
did.
Okay. So yes, we do.
Okay.
John, any thoughts?
Just looking at one line item here that says this increase has no projected cost to the township in 24. Is there any projected cost beyond 24? I mean, or is this all based on whether the investments are good or not?
right, the MinPara only does the cost analysis for a year. They don't project beyond that. Just again, there's inherent risk of investments.
Sure.
So they don't take that risk of saying what it's gonna cost.
Okay.
You know, in future years.
I'm gonna ask a different question because I don't know the answer to it. The other staff. Do they ever get a raise in their pay? Your rate is always the same?
There was an increase it went from 6 to 6.5% in like 2011, was before I worked here. But otherwise it has stayed at 6.5%.
6.5%. Explain that a little bit more because I'm familiar with para on the public employee side. The fire department is very different, very different.
Right.
So don't even try to compare the two because they're not even two totally different laws that
I
support
believe-
that.
I believe the question was, has it increased for us? No, it has not. We pay in 6.5%. The employer pays 7.5%. That has remained steady, like I say, since about 2011.
And that's my point is the community hasn't paid anything into the fire department pension in over 10 years. Where they're paying 6.5%, 7% into the other staff's pensions annually.
We have, I'm sorry, then I must misunderstand something because we have upped your pension amount. From 2005, it was $1,900 and now it's $3,400 a year. And you're asking for $3,600.
Now that money is, again, where'd that money come from? It did not come from the community, Linwood Township putting money into the pension. That has come from investment, return on investment. Okay, there hasn't been any contribution coming from Linwood Township.
Okay, it
for that-
doesn't come
for
out
that
of
increase.
anybody's budget.
No,
The only time it comes out of our budget or money out of the levy or any money is if it doesn't do well.
if the investments do not perform
Okay, I
appropriately.
just want to understand this.
Yes.
Nope.
No, and that's
Very-
fair question,
makes sense. Yep.
but that's my point where it's very different from the rest of the staff. They get a contribution every paycheck. There is no contribution from Linwood Township to this account. And
But
there
you
hasn't
still get
been,
it.
there hasn't been over 10 years.
Okay, but you still get it from somebody.
From the 2%.
Comes from 2%. Again, state law requires 2% of all a homeowner property tax, or not property tax, excuse me, homeowner insurance premium gets paid back
Okay.
pass through to the township for pass through money to the retirement fund.
Correct, along with the state aid money.
And which that is the
Yeah,
state aid money,
right.
yeah. And then the investment, the return on the investment of those dollars.
So Carol, the form that I gave everybody, this is the state aid money that is paying their pension. And it shows that the percentage increases throughout the years, whether it was, I think 1 year it was 0, but I mean, from 22 to 23, it was up 11%. So I wanted you guys to know where that money is coming from, but hindsight's 2020. We also need to know the liabilities as well if the investments don't go well. So, but since we've been enrolled in para since 2014, it's all been covered from the state aid.
So is the township's liability just the difference if there's a shortfall? We just make up the shortfall. Is that
Correct, that is correct.
And it's no different next year or this year as it was the year before. It's always been that way, I'm
It's
assuming,
always
right?
been that way, yep.
Okay.
I'm gonna make a motion, we allow them to go to $3,600 in their retirement.
A motion's been made to move up the fire department pension to $3,600 a year. Can I have a second?
Yeah, I'll second it.
Any more discussion? I'm all for this, but it absolutely drives me insane that this goes back. If you've been in the fire department 40 years, this goes back 40 years. You've been in 50 years? And I think about all the old timers who started this and put their blood, sweat and tears into this and didn't paid their own bills, for crying out loud, and paid their own everything. And it, I don't know. I
So,
don't think it's fair.
Well, I said too, for years and years and years, I think it was Bloomington. That was it Bloomington? That's when that had the big retirement. Wasn't Bloomington had that? Minnetonka. And I mean, these guys, they didn't want to pay. The reason these guys were fighting the fires, going out there and making all these calls was for the retirement.
That's how, no, I don't know. Whatever. Okay, all right, a motion on the table. Any more discussion? Okay, motion on the table to go up to $3,600. All in favor of said motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed. I oppose. Carol, did you aye?
I didn't do either. I'm gonna do an aye.
Okay, motion carries.
I did. Surprise everybody.
Okay.
We thank you. And
Okay.
if I can, a point of advice on the pensions to minimize the risk that we have with this. It would behoove the township to actually budget money and voluntarily contribute to the plan, because that would negate any losses that the investments have. If you were putting in even $5,000 to $10,000 per year, as we traditionally have, that would automatically be another, over 10 years here, up to another $100,000 that would be invested at 6% compounded annually. You're looking at another $500,000 that would be in that fund to protect the up and downs of the market. So from a pure investment standpoint, regardless of whether you're required to contribute, adding a little bit every year would minimize the risk to the township of the fund dropping based on just the economic downturns. So,
So
thank you.
since there's a liability and a risk, if there was a shortcoming in the fund, when does the township know that? Because I'm thinking from a budgeting standpoint, if we get hit, do we get hit in December when we're not expecting it? Do we know in January? Or is it in the middle of the year?
I believe it's in the middle of the year. I
Yes.
think they kind of
June,
give
July.
us June, July timeframe.
So the town board has enough time to adjust our budgets.
Yeah, and I think it's based on basically the state's fiscal year. So a lot of communities follow the state's fiscal year. Obviously in Linwood, we don't. So that's where the state provides that information at that time
Okay,
when you would be or many communities make their decisions.
okay,
Pam?
good.
Generally, you're given 2 to 3 years to pay it back, to get it back in there, because the fund can go, I'm gonna say 90% under to 125 or what. And you've got to get it back in that range within a couple years. So it isn't like they send you a notice and you need to write them a check. There's time to pay that back.
Okay, that's great, because I kept picturing kind of like the whole well thing, all of a sudden you get dropped 26 grand. You gotta figure out where to come up with that money and what you're gonna cut out of the budget, so.
Yep, and generally
great.
we get, so for 2024, it would have been around June or July. We get a notice saying what our payment, if there was something due in 2024, is
Okay.
for the upcoming year. So you've already budgeted.
Yeah.
But at least you would know if there was a contribution. And like I say, then I think they give you a few years to, but I don't mean, but I think one thing that's helpful, could you talk about, these charts show who would be eligible in the next few years to retire? Because it's a combination. It isn't just how many years you've been in it. It's a combination of age. Could you maybe touch on
Yeah,
that?
because again, to collect the pension, you have to turn 50. So the majority of our fire department is under 50, so they're not even eligible to collect funds right now. Or if they don't have 5 years in, they're not eligible to collect funds. And then even if they do have 5, 6 years, it's not a full pension. It's partially vested at 5 years and only 40%. So at 36, I can't do that math in my head, but you know, $1,800 after 5 years per year service versus the full 36.
Yeah.
Roughly.
Great, yeah, thanks for the explanations.
And then the other thing that's in the packet too, that we would need filled out is a model, you know, the state gives us a model resolution. I did pre-fill that out. So that would need a signature by the clerk and the board and completing, so I don't know who completes that, or if I gotta work with Pam, we can do that.
Work with Pam on that, please.
So what the board could do is authorize the chairperson and clerk to sign. I don't know what time frame there is on the resolution.
I believe I think December 5th is the date we need to have the resolution to the state by.
So we don't meet until the 12th. So like I say,
Make a motion, we allow the town, the chairman to sign the resolution. Once it's numbered.
Have a second?
So, okay, so we're authorizing the chairperson and the town clerk, because they both need signature on here.
Okay, make a motion, we allow the chairman and the clerk to sign the resolution.
I'll second.
Any more discussion? All in favor of said motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks, Board. The only other thing I have is that the roof unit is working now. It went out yesterday morning. We got calls. It was pretty cold in there last night. We turned up the temperature in the apparatus bay to offset the training room. They came out today and they fixed it, so hopefully
Okay.
we'll have some heat. So thank you, Board. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Are we gonna, who's talking about the firewall?
I can, the firewall at the station was put in. Does somebody want to bring Andy back?
I don't know where I went.
I don't know. where he went.
Why did he leave?
He couldn't be here for the discussion of the pension.
Somebody go
He
get him.
can't even sit here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Second, you did.
He could sit in the audience, but he couldn't like make faces and nod at you. I can probably start talking about it, but the firewall at the fire station was put in 2018. It is old enough that it's not being supported anymore. And so the hardware is scheduled to be replaced. And then also we pay the license for it. The quote you have in front of you is, there's some options there. So it's not a total of the two. It's if we want to just pay a 1-year license on it, it's $914. If you wanted to also replace the hardware and do a 3-year upgrade on the firewall license, it's a 3-year license, but it's also replacing the hardware. That would be $1,620. What we did a few years back here on the town hall is that our firewall was no longer being supported. And TR Computers said, maybe what you can do is you can just ride it out, and when it fails, then you can replace it at that time. We were able to get 1 more year out of it with there was no support for it. I'm just saying that's what we did here at the town hall. The license actually expires tomorrow on the subscription on the license actually expires tomorrow. But we can get an extension if necessary to get the hardware in. They would extend the license into that. So those are your 2 options, is just to extend the license or to go with a 3-year and replace the firewall.
Looks like a bigger bang for your buck if you go with the 3-year.
John, you're kind of an IT guru.
Well, firewalls and security go hand in hand, and security is a big thing. It's and is there money in our budget for this year for this hardware?
It would come out of communication.
It could, yeah, it would be a legitimate communications
Yep.
expense.
And that's,
Which helps.
yeah, and that's different than what we used for the computers, right? When we did the computer upgrades.
That was most likely also computer, it could have been communications. It could have gone to each department.
Each
Okay,
department, correct.
You were doing 6B.
Well, I would say, like I said, you make a mistake with security, it's gonna cost you a lot more than $1,620. Did you want to catch up, Andy?
Nope.
Okay,
Oh,
right. I'm gonna make a motion that we move forward with the second option that includes the 3-year plan. So the Sonic Wall TZ 370 network security firewall with the 3 years for $1,620.
Okay, can I have a second?
Second.
Okay, any more discussion? All in favor of said motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, just give a
Yes,
quick
sir.
update. They were supposed to start on the well across the street today. I see they got their dump truck over there in a big pipe. That's as far as I got today, so I'm hoping that they get it fired up and going tomorrow, that well over there.
For that. Now we're in old business. Card access quotes, number 7.
So what you have is a quote to replace the card access system for this complex. So it would be the town hall, the senior center, and adding access at the maintenance garage. It's also adding more security on interior doors. This quote is one that the board looked at these quotes at the last meeting. They were provided. What this one, the only thing that wasn't on it was adding the maintenance garage, but otherwise this is a similar quote to what you had seen in the security meeting. And so what you've got, there's actually 2 quotes. One is from WH Security, and that's replacing the card system and getting us set up with that. And then the other one from Assured Security is actually the locksmiths, the cost for the locksmith. This is actually a company that works right with, it's a separate company, but they work with the equipment that WH Security sells us.
It's a subcontract of them. They handle all the scheduling and everything with them, so.
Yes.
And this would come out of split budgets for different,
For everything,
for everything.
from senior to everything. I mean, basically the gas bill. Gas and electric bill, the same things, put up same way.
So if I'm looking right, between the 2 bills, it's $11,059, give or take a couple cents. Is that correct?
You did 72, 75, and 3783.
I did 84, so I just rounded up a little bit, a couple pennies. And I come up with $11,059. My number's right?
So from the numbers that we had before to the numbers now, it went up about 1,200. So is that including a card reader for maintenance? Is that what?
Yes.
Okay, so then they can swipe rather than a key.
Yes.
Good.
Wise man once said, security is expensive.
And this will come out of which fund?
It'll all be split.
Yes.
It'll be split
It's
between all the
separate
different
departments.
departments.
Seniors,
Department.
building, you name it, it's split between them.
And there'd be other contractual out of each one, and we've got numbers. I mean, do you, maybe that's just more educational. There's, when stuff like this hits, there's the default percentages that you have, correct? Or does everything prorate differently, or?
This will all get broken out.
No, I understand that, but you have your standard breakout that you would do, right? 10% always hits this, 12, whatever the number is.
All the way down to 2.5% of the.
That's exactly what I'm saying. So when stuff like that hits with these, and I know it might be some pre-work, but it's work that's gonna happen anyways after it's built. It might be helpful just to see that breakout with these quotes to where, yep, the money's in that fund. We understand it. We're not coming back multiple
I
times
just
later.
thought it was in. Isn't this coming? with
Communication? No.
Communication?
No.
No, all right,
That was the
Okay.
firewall.
that was fair.
Okay,
All right,
any more discussion?
make a motion, we go with
Oh.
the total package of 11. I'm gonna round to $11,059.
A second for discussion.
Been moved and seconded, discussion.
There we go. That's what I need to hear.
So are we? I was looking at the numbers and we had, what, $74,000 left in our budget for this year and 1 month to go. Is this something that we should move forward with in December of 23, or is this something that we should, I mean, we're able to get in and out right now for a month, or should this go into 24 budgeting?
Asking my opinion, it needs to go in right away.
I agree.
We are struggling with getting people in and out of the buildings. We've been able to make arrangements. We still have all the security. It isn't that. It's just the access going in and out.
I only looked at you because I respected your opinion.
Well,
You deal with this every
again,
day.
each of the funds that this will come out of, they're fine. They'll be able to handle these expenses.
Look at the back of the sheet. I was looking at
Yeah.
how much money's in everybody's budget. And everybody should be able to at least get through December until next draw.
Okay.
That's why I was kind of looking on the back there, looking at everybody's numbers.
Good question. Okay, any more discussion? All right, all in favor of spending $11,059 on card readers, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carries. All right, number 8. Memorandum of Understanding for Anoka County Economic Development. I believe there was a date wrong. Down on, therefore, the parties agree as the following, 3B. Memorandum of Understanding is that effective upon execution and will terminate upon the earlier of January 1st or January 10th, 2024. It was supposed to be 2025. So you need a motion on that for me to initial it? Already,
It wouldn't hurt.
okay. Don't want to make a motion to approve the chair to initial the change from January 10th, 2024 to 2025.
I'll
Make
make the motion.
I'll second it. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carries.
Corrected. Hey, we made it to new business.
Yep. Number 9, resolution 2023-35, supporting pursuit of 2023 LRIP funding from MnDOT for Martin Lake Road. I think we all got some information on that sent to us. Pam, you can go on that one.
So initially, the grant was written, or this resolution was written to do just from County Road 22 to East Martin Lake Drive. At the last meeting, the board thought maybe we could wrap in the entire road from County Road 85 to 22. I checked with our engineer on that, and he ran the numbers and believes he can get it in for 1.5 million, which is the cap on the grant. So this resolution, in your packet, I sent out the one resolution, but then this is actually the resolution that's been amended to include the entire stretch of the road. This would be the work would be done in 2025. The LRIP grant only covers construction. It does not cover engineering fees, so that would be coming out of township. If we were to get this grant, we threw some calculations, it'll be about $150,000 in engineering fees. Again, this is something that's been on our radar, but we thought we had to do it in sections, and we knew it was going to take several years to build that money in the capital, road and bridge capital. So this is what Craig came up with, and this is for the entire stretch of Martin Lake Road.
And if I remember right, I think in our road and bridge capital, we're like over 500,000 or something. I thought that we had kind of earmarked or figured we'd be using that in this road, isn't it?
Again, I think we knew it was going to take a few years
Yeah.
of putting that money into the capital. I don't know the numbers right off
Okay.
of what was budgeted for next year.
That's a huge project. So if anybody prays, that'd be a good time. Maybe that Craig's hands are doing a wonderful job.
It would be amazing if we got this.
I agree.
Stranger things been known to happen. We got 205th.
We got 205th.
I'm just saying, I'll make a motion. We approve resolution number 2023-35. Resolution supporting pursuit of a 2023 local road improvement program, funding from the MnDOT for the 227th Avenue Martin Lake Road Street Improvement Project.
Second.
Okay, any more discussion? All in favor of said motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carries. Number 10, resolution 2023-36, supporting pursuit of the 2023 LRIP funding for MnDOT for 245th Avenue.
This is a grant that last year, in 2021, Oxford took the lead on this one and they applied for it. And that also included going north on Baylor Street. Since that time, and we did not get that grant, since that time, Baylor Street in Oxford has been paved. So now the grant is strictly for the Town Line Road 245th, just north of Thames Street. And this time Oxford had asked if Linwood would take the lead. So Craig wrote this grant. Actually has gotten very good help from the engineers, MSA up in Oxford. He was willing to share the information he had. And again, this is, the strong point on this is that it's connecting two county roads. Again, with the Anoka County saw how important it was to put those turn lanes on. That speaks to the volume of traffic that's using that on the south end of Thames Street there. And then I think the other thing too, I think we've still got time. These grants have to go in December 8th. And we've asked Oxford Township for a letter of support for this resolution. But I think the other thing I'm gonna maybe ask for another letter of support is that if there truly are talks of our fire department providing fire services to Oxford Township, I think that would be another good feature to add to this grant, because they're always looking for safety. That always plays a big part in these grants, and how are you improving safety? And so I think it might be beneficial to get letter of support for that from the safety standpoint with the fire again, I realize that's just still all in talking stages and stuff, but the state doesn't need to know that. Again, we won't lie, but it will be that this is in the works to improve it. And this is one of the roads that emergency vehicles have to travel to get up to provide services for Oxford. So, so that one is ready it will be ready. We just need a few more documents included in there.
Yeah, it's appropriate. I'll make a motion to accept resolution number 2023-36, resolution supporting pursuit of 223 local road improvement program funding from MnDOT for paving and safety improvements on 245th Avenue Northeast.
Second.
David moved in second. Any more discussion? All in favor of said motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carries. Number 11, appoint SRWMO representative.
So, the township was entitled to 2 representatives on the Sunrise Water Board and Water Board. Well, that's Watershed Board.
I know, sometimes
a
it's
long
just
day.
hard to talk.
And we actually have one opening on there with the new joint powers agreement. One of the members needs to be an elected official, one of the supervisors. And so since we've had that opening, we have to by December 26th. You can only have an opening for 30 or for 90 days. And that brings us to December 26th, which is the last meeting of the year. So if the board would like to appoint a member to there, there's also the option to appoint an alternate. So if one of your representatives can't be there, your alternate can go and they would be that second vote for the township. So I put them on here if the board is ready to appoint a representative and possibly an alternative. If the board is not going to select the alternate from the board, because I checked with Jamie on that today, the alternate could be another board member. It does not need to be a member at large. So if the board chooses that they would rather advertise for it, I need to get going on that really, really quick, just because of how many days it has to be published and how many days before it's appointed. So in order to hit that December 26th meeting, I would need to get it in the paper real quick here. So that's what I got for you.
I guess the first question is would you be willing to be that person?
Same answer as I always give.
I know.
I'm always willing to do anything. But I also want to say though too, that, you know, I do carry a lot of committee assignments. So if anybody
A lot of
else,
things are changing in
yeah,
January.
I mean, if anybody else is interested, I don't hold on to this stuff dearly and I don't take it personal if somebody wants to take it. And if somebody does want to take it, I can always be the alternate, you know, if they're gone. So I'll leave it up to the others to decide first.
You do that, I'll do the alternate. I make a motion to have John Olson be the SRWMO representative for Linwood Township.
Second it.
More discussion? All right, all in favor of said motion, signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries.
And then we get to talk about this again in January,
Yes.
right?
Do I need to make a motion for it to be an alternate?
Well, you shouldn't make the
Yeah, I
motion.
know,
but-
but I'm always about
Yes,
them.
yes.
I'll make a motion, Chairman Milburn is the alternate for the Sunrise River.
Second.
Okay, all in favor of said motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries.
You like it? It's more fun now.
Mm-hmm. Number 12, scheduled annual wage review. Where is the calendar? My favorite thing. Look at that. So we'll do it in December. Any thoughts? . Like a lot of Wednesdays are open. Anyone?
13th, or you wanna do Wednesday, is that what you're saying?
Well, all the Wednesdays are open, all the Thursdays are open too, but
What does this entail? Just
well,
like-
we are gonna talk about the annual wage review, and then I'd also like to talk about fire department compensation and town board compensation. If that works out.
I'm good for Wednesdays.
Wednesday the sixth,
The 6th, I'm not good.
6th, you're not good,
I got fire department on the 6th,
13,
and on the 13th.
John, 13,
I have a conflict.
Andy, you do? Oh, then maybe we do Thursday,
Yeah,
14th.
14th works.
14th, anyone?
Thursday is better for me.
Okay, all right, we'll do Thursday the 14th.
At what time?
6 o'clock. 14. Okay. Adding on to our calendars. Okay. Do I need a motion for that, Pam?
No.
Okay. Okay, 13, October Fire Department payroll. I'll make a motion for direct deposit 20742 to 20767 and electronic funds transfer 20768 to 20769, the amount of $15,786.18.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor, said motion signify by saying aye.
Abstain.
Abstained, one. Or one abstention. 14 consent agenda.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, all in favor of approving the consent agenda, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Claim 3780, I'll make a motion to pay claim 3780 to WH Security for card access system replacement in Town Hall, Senior Center and Maintenance. $3,749.01.
A second.
All in favor?
So
Aye.
Aye. That's the one I already signed. Okay,
wasn't there discussion?
okay, discussion?
So this is, the board approved the card access system and WH Security needs half the money down.
That's half.
So this
okay.
is half down on that 11,000.
So this is just a deposit then?
This,
Okay.
this one, yeah, this, we didn't want to put it in with the other claims in case you said no or changed
Okay.
the plan. So this is just a separate claim to pay
Half
that
payment.
half.
Thank you.
Okay, any more discussion? Okay, all in favor of paying $3,749.01 on claim 37880, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carries. Supervisors reports. Call the dog catcher. Call the dog catcher. I can go first this time. I have nothing. How about that?
Works.
Yeah. John?
Got a couple of them. Senior center use, I'm bringing this back from the last meeting, where Anoka County wants to do a fix-it program. And, in some dialogue, I'm struggling with one thing, which is I think that we're going to be able to use the reuse building back there for this program. However, Anoka's been very supportive. And we just got, $62,000 grant. They want to have it here. It does benefit us and our community. And so what I would like to do, is it's actually June 1st. It's on a Saturday from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. and then they're out of there. I didn't get a chance to talk to, Sarah to see if it's even available during that time. And I should also ask, what is our normal rental rate on the senior center for like 6 hours?
Pretty spendy.
$200? Okay.
$50 deposit.
$150.
No, they use the kitchen, it's more.
Okay, no, they don't set up, it's 15 tables and that's about it. They just need the space and the power. So I'm okay doing this one of two ways. If the board would support allowing them to at least get it on the schedule. And then we're gonna know at least a few months beforehand whether the senior or whether the reuse building is gonna be usable for it. And if it is, we'll move it away from the senior center and open up that date. If the board has a problem with it from a finance standpoint, then I will be happy to go ahead and pay the money myself to schedule it for $200. I think the relationship with Anoka County is worth it.
Isn't the warming house, that'll be done?
They need 15 tables set up in there. Well, last year they had 5 apparently, but the email that I got was 15 and I was like, so they're according to what, and I didn't have this information 2 weeks ago, I would have presented it, but apparently it's growing. Last year they didn't have very many people show up to it. This program, as they've been running it in other areas, it is growing. So, and like I said, I just want to make sure we've got a place for them so that they can plan on it being here. Obviously, my first choice is to put them back in the new reuse building. So that's going to be the goal. Just in case that doesn't happen, we've got a backup plan.
I agree with you, the fact that Anoka County's really been good to us.
The other thing is we don't charge for the boardroom.
I was gonna say the boardroom, we have look at the garage space we have, I mean, versus taking away revenue from the senior center. Oh, well,
We can find something.
Yeah, would we? Okay. All right. I just needed to get an answer back to them and
Okay.
it was not going to look very good. I don't think after they've been so supportive, but all right, good. I'll get a message back to them. We still have an outstanding invoice for Diesel Rocker. I just talked to the representative there today. They probably have already sent me a revised invoice. They did not break out like the DOT inspection. They claim that they had sent the DOT reports for each truck. Did we ever get those by
yeah,
mail?
we do have those.
Okay. Did anybody review those to make sure they looked appropriate or adequate?
I did, and that's when I brought it to the attention that the work wasn't done properly on the truck.
Okay. All right, then let me do this because I was hoping that we could move beyond it tonight, but I don't want to do that if we're not comfortable. So I'll get with staff and figure this out. But in the 2 weeks, I think we got to get whatever we're going to do in the next 2 weeks. And the last thing is I did authorize recycling to pay $100 to have 2 roll-off boxes moved. These boxes were from Anoka County. There's no cost to the roll-off boxes. There is space in the cyclone fenced area for them. The guys cleaned them out today at that area. But so the boxes are free, but it's $100 to have them transported here. And that was a fraction of what it would have normally have cost. So I went ahead and approved that. So we'll have 2 more containers back there to get things off the ground and more out of sight, more organized. That's all I have.
Okay. Carol?
I don't have anything.
I'm just hoping they get working on that fire department well tomorrow. I mean, they started bringing stuff in today. They said they were gonna start today, but hopefully they'll get here tomorrow and they'll get started.
Good.
I think last time, I think they said it'd take 2 to 3 days. I think is what their time schedule was. So,
Wow, okay. All right, Pam?
Yeah. The mobile home over on 239th Lane has been removed from the property. That all went as well as could be expected. The only thing that is left there is some debris, some barrels and concrete blocks and stuff. I'm waiting for a response from the attorney to see if the township can go back on the property to clean that up, or if that gets left there and, I don't know, if the township can go back on the property to clean that up, or if that gets left there and, I don't know, if that gets left there and, I don't know, if that gets left there and, I don't know, if that gets left there and, I don't know, if that gets left there and, I don't know, if that gets left there and, I don't know, if that gets left there and, I don't know, if that gets left there and, I don't know, if that gets left there and, I don't know, if that gets left there and, I don't know, if that gets left there and, I don't know, if that gets left there and, I don't know, if that gets left there and, I don't know, if that gets left there and, I don't know, if that gets left there and, I don't know, if that gets left there and, I don't know, if that gets left there and, I don't know, if that gets left there and, I don't know, if that gets left there and, I don't know, if that gets left there and, I don't know, if that gets left there and, I don't know, if that gets left there and, I don't know, if that gets left there and, I don't know, if that gets left there and, I don't know, if that gets left there and, I don't know, if that gets left there and, I don't know, if that gets left there we need to move to enforcements to have it removed, but I think we still have the authority to go in. I believe we can, but I just want to be very, very careful that we don't go back on that property without authorization. So that has gone. Susan has been diligently working at enforcements. I've asked that maybe she could come at the next meeting and give a report to the board just to kind of, it's been a long time since you've gotten an enforcements report, but just kind of bring you up to speed on what's going on out there with enforcements. And then the other thing that's in your packet, there's actually some photos of from October was, I gotta get this right, Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And I just want to point out, of all the cities that did this, there's 2 pictures for Linwood. So they must have liked that our sign and our building was lit up for that. What makes me very sad, and again, it was kind of why I brought it to you in the first place. One of the main things that our deputies do, there's a few houses they watch that they're concerned maybe with drugs in the area, but otherwise their main responses are domestic violence. And so while we can make people aware of it and be aware of it ourselves, I have passed out the information to a few people that kind of needed some help. So I think even just bringing that awareness to staff and being able to offer that out to folks that are showing a need. But yeah, just a line from their letter said that there was 20 municipal buildings in Anoka County that did it, as well as individual houses. I see the church over on Viking Boulevard, that one lit purple. But it says the statistics surrounding domestic violence are overwhelming. This year alone, there have been 27 confirmed victims of intimate partner homicide, with one being an Anoka County resident. So again, I appreciate the board's support of staff taking this on and participating in it. And I'm hoping that we can make a difference with the awareness. Then in the first week in November was veterans, to honor our veterans. And I put that out to the local businesses, and I see some of them are still shining their green lights out there. So if you wonder, do the decisions you make, do they really go anywhere? They do make a difference. So again, thank you for your support.
Did I say something? Yeah. I just want to say thank you to Pam for all the work that she's done on 239th Lane. I mean, that's been a long project.
Yes, it has.
And I'm glad to see they're gone.
But the fire department's pretty happy to have that gone too. So, kind of a congratulations to Linwood Township, so. That and 240th and Purdue. I mean, there were 2 huge undertakings.
And that actually has helped because in some of the enforcements we're working on now, one of the responses came back, "Are you just picking on me?" Now we can say, no, we do. We respond to written complaints, and no, you're not the only one that we're picking on. So.
All right,
I would think that neighborhood would be thrilled.
you're right. That's what I.
I'm sure social media is just busting out with their gratitude.
Yeah, it
Everybody
is.
cheering.
It's not, but.
Cheering. Okay, next.
I just have that. I was able to get that CD renewed. I did talk to the bank and got a little better rate of 3.7 for 27 months paid quarterly. So
Very good.
that's all I got.
All good news. Okay. Nothing else. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, everybody.